The photo hit at 7:42 p.m. I was alone in a hotel room in Denver, reheating bad takeout, half watching the news on mute when my phone buzzed. I opened the message from my brother, thinking it'd be a meme or a score update. Instead, it was our dining room. My dining room, my wife at the head of the table, her ex, Carter, sitting to her left like he belonged there, her mother, her sister, their husbands, even our niece in the high chair. Every face turned toward her, mid-laughter, every chair filled, except mine. I stared at the image for a long time, my fork hovered, forgotten. In that moment, nothing hurt. It just froze, like my chest forgot how to move. I texted her, just a simple, "Everything okay?" The dots appeared, then vanished. A minute later, "Just something small and didn't think you'd mind." Hey, if you're watching this and you've ever had a moment like that, where the air leaves the room and no one notices, tap that subscribe button, like the video. It means the world to the team working behind the scenes to bring these true stories forward. Most people forget. Don't be one of them. I didn't argue. I didn't ask why. I just stared at that photo until the screen dimmed itself. Then I turned my phone over, shut the TV, and sat in silence. I replayed every mundane part of the past week, the casual kisses, the errand texts, her "good luck in Denver" that morning. Nothing out of place, nothing suspicious. That's what unsettled me most. The next morning, I looked for any mention of the dinner on her socials. Nothing. Her sister had posted a photo of her salad earlier that day, a gym mirror selfie after, but nothing from the dinner. It wasn't an open gathering. It wasn't something casual. It was curated, deliberate. And I wasn't meant to see it. The training ended 2 days later. I didn't rush home. I stopped twice on the drive back, took a longer route, bought coffee I didn't drink. I needed the quiet to stretch long enough for me to understand why it all felt off. When I finally walked in, the house smelled faintly of cinnamon, probably a candle. The table was set with our usual place settings. Clean, neutral, no leftovers in the fridge, no extra plates drying by the sink. It was as if nothing had happened until I saw it. A photo frame, left on the kitchen counter. Like someone forgot to pack it away. I leaned in. There it was again, that same dinner. My wife, her ex, their shoulders too close, everyone smiling, and his hand resting on the back of her chair. Not her hand, not a kiss, just that quiet, possessive touch. And her face, not guilty, not confused, smug. That photo didn't belong here, but it had been placed, intentionally or carelessly, where I'd see it. I didn't ask. I didn't storm in with questions. I just placed my suitcase by the wall, walked upstairs, and laid on top of the covers, like a guest. My heart didn't race. It didn't break. It just watched her world from the outside. And in that stillness, I realized something simple. She didn't forget to invite me. She excluded me. She didn't mention it again, not the dinner, not the photo, not Carter. She acted like the trip never happened. She kissed my cheek when I got in from work, asked how Denver went, handed me my favorite tea like everything was normal. She didn't notice the way I paused before drinking it. Or maybe she did, just didn't care. I waited 3 days before touching the frame. It sat there, right by the fruit bowl she rarely touched. Silver edges, no dust yet, like it had just been placed. Too neatly, not displayed, not hidden, just waiting. I picked it up when she was out running errands, studied each face, everyone laughing at something just off camera. A family scene warm and full. My niece had applesauce on her chin. Her sister's husband held a wine glass mid-toast, and there, tucked close to my wife, was Carter. He wasn't looking at the camera. He was looking at her. His hand wasn't on her shoulder. No, that would have been too obvious. It was lower, resting on the back of her chair, thumb curved slightly inward, almost brushing her arm. Possessive, familiar, but it was her face that pulled the breath from me. She wasn't laughing. She wasn't startled. She wasn't uncomfortable. She was satisfied. Just a little curl at the corner of her mouth. Just a little tilt of her head toward him, like the whole world was exactly as it should be. I set the frame down carefully. Not angrily, almost gently. Then I walked to the dining room, sat at the head of the table. The chair was firm, cold. I pressed my palms to the wood and closed my eyes. I could imagine the sound of wine glasses clinking, silverware tapping plates. Carter's voice saying something charming, her mother laughing too loud. My seat empty. No one asked where I was. I didn't confront her. There was nothing to confront. A confrontation assumes an error, a slip. But this wasn't a slip, it was a decision. I started paying closer attention after that. She smiled too quickly at texts. She took calls in the guest room for better reception. Her work schedule suddenly shifted. Always just small things, just enough to feel like coincidence if you wanted to believe in that. She kissed me goodnight each evening, but it was muscle memory, not warmth, not us. And every time I passed that framed photo, I felt less like a partner and more like a placeholder. I waited until we were both folding laundry, neutral ground. She was pairing socks, and I was smoothing out one of her blouses. The silence had stretched too long over the past few days, and I needed to hear how she'd rewrite it. "So," I said, soft, nonchalant, "how'd dinner go?" She didn't look up, just shrugged. "Awkward. Carter showed up out of nowhere. I didn't even know Mom invited him." She kept folding. I let the pause hang just enough to seem casual. "Your mom framed a photo from that night, left it on the counter. That's when it happened." The motion of her hand stopped mid-fold. She didn't turn her head, didn't raise her voice, but her tone snapped like a dry branch. "Why are you snooping through things?" There it was, not surprise, not explanation, just accusation. I stared at her, not answering. She finally looked at me, and her expression was something I didn't recognize. Cold, like I trespassed on territory she suddenly considered hers. "I wasn't snooping," I said calmly. "It was next to the fruit bowl." "Well, maybe don't go analyzing every little thing," she muttered, too fast. Then she stood, took the pile of clothes, and left the room without another word. She didn't touch me that night, barely said goodnight. And when she did, her lips barely brushed my cheek, like she was checking off a box. I didn't react. I just walked downstairs, into the garage. The air smelled like old paint and insulation. I stood there for a long time, in the quiet hum of the fridge out there, staring at the wall where my storage shelves used to be. My things, childhood boxes, keepsakes from college, the backup drives, my tools, they were all stacked in the corner. Neat, taped up, labeled, like someone had decided to prepare for a move without telling me. My initials were scribbled on the side of each box in her handwriting. The symbolism wasn't subtle. That night, while she slept upstairs, I unlocked the side cabinet in the garage, the one behind the tool chest, pulled out a USB with old spreadsheets, documents, scanned records she never paid attention to. I took the key to the safe in the closet, checked the contents. My name was still listed on the accounts. For now, I didn't take anything, I just confirmed what was still mine. By morning, she kissed my cheek like nothing had shifted, but I had. Something subtle and permanent. I stopped asking questions and started preparing answers. The call came on a Wednesday, just after 8. I'd finished clearing out the last of my old documents from the shared desk drawer, birth certificates, investment statements, spare keys, things she'd never bothered to look at, but I didn't want to leave behind. The house was quiet, too quiet for a marriage. Just the hum of the fridge and the faint echo of whatever show she was watching in the bedroom. When I saw her mother's name flash across the screen, I almost let it go to voicemail, but something in me said, "Answer it." "Hi," I said. She hesitated. I wasn't sure if I should call. I waited. Then she said it, softly, like she was trying not to admit she had a part in it. "You know, if you'd just come home sooner, none of this would have started." I stood completely still. What started? A pause, then a long, tired sigh. "She's always been impulsive," her mother said, choosing every word like it weighed something. "Emotional. You were always too calm." She mistook that for weakness. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. She kept going. "She thought you'd never leave, that you'd always just absorb it, like you had room for her moods, her doubts, her Carter." Her Carter. The way she said it, like it had already happened, like I was the one catching up to the truth. "I'm not calling to take sides," she added quickly, "but I thought you deserved to know that some of us noticed, even if it's late." I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. "Thank you," I said, voice level. "Do what's best for you," she replied. Then the line went dead. I stared at the blank phone screen for a long moment. Not angry, not sad, just, aware. The kind of awareness that replaces disbelief with something quieter, older, like a muscle finally relaxing after months of clenching. I went to the hall closet and pulled out the overnight bag I used for work trips. Quietly, I started folding, not rushing, not running, just removing myself from a place I no longer belonged. 2 drawers emptied, a box of financial papers tucked beneath my jacket. I erased the shared calendar from my phone, reset the garage keypad, not everything, just enough. She came downstairs later, chatting about a new series she wanted to start together. I smiled, nodded, and said it sounded good. But in my mind, I was already gone. Not because of Carter, not even because of the lie, because the people who love you don't test the limits of your silence. And she already had. She fell asleep before midnight, phone still lit up in her hand. I watched her breathe steady and untroubled, curled toward the wall like I wasn't even there. Her screen was still unlocked, group chats, inside jokes, a dozen notifications from Carter that she hadn't bothered to hide. One of them just said, "You looked amazing tonight." I didn't flinch, didn't pick up the phone. I just stood, walked quietly down the kitchen, opened my laptop. There's a point where the body stops reacting, where your heartbeat doesn't race and your breath doesn't catch, not because it doesn't matter, but because your mind has already accepted the worst. And mine had. I started with the joint checking, no red flags at first, grocery store, gas station, Target runs. But then, scattered among the routine, small withdrawals I didn't recognize. A hotel 30 minutes from Carter's apartment. Twice, a spa boutique 2 towns over. A gift shop I'd never stepped foot in. Each charge small enough to avoid notice. Each one nestled into a week I'd been traveling or working late. She hadn't even bothered to use cash. I moved to the savings, transferred half to a separate account, one already in my name. The rest, I left. Not out of kindness, out of clarity. I didn't want to take anything she'd try to fight over. I just wanted to reclaim what was mine. Then I opened the cloud drive. She'd never touched it, never remembered the password. But I had. Receipts. Mortgage documents. The prenup she once joked about, just in case you decide to go off the rails. Her signature, neat and complete, right beneath the clause about infidelity nullifying spousal claim on retirement distributions. I read it again, slow, not to feel better, to feel nothing at all. By 2 a.m., I had everything I needed, new passwords, backup drives, copies stored where she'd never look. I logged out, cleared the history, shut the laptop. She stirred as I slid into bed, eyes barely opening. "Everything okay?" she mumbled. I nodded. "Yeah, just couldn't sleep." She yawned, rolled toward me for a second, then back away. The next morning, she asked if I'd remembered to grab almond milk. I said I had. She smiled, kissed my cheek, and went upstairs to shower. It was terrifying in a quiet way. How easy it was for her to forget the photo, the text, the dinner, the hand on her chair. How much she depended on my silence, my steadiness, my love, unspoken and unconditional. But I was done offering it freely. She hadn't noticed the shift yet. But she would. The train pulled out of the station just after 6. The sky had that soft pink glow you only get in the cold, like the world was trying to apologize for everything. I didn't look back, didn't wave. I carried one bag, the same worn duffel I'd taken on every trip for the past 10 years. This time it didn't feel like travel. It felt like extraction. I chose a city we'd never visited, one she never liked. Too quiet, she used to say. Too slow. And that was the point. At the inn, I paid in cash. No rewards card, no digital footprint. I gave a name I hadn't used in years, my mother's maiden, and asked for a room that didn't face the street. When I got in, I sat on the edge of the bed for a long time, listening to the silence. It didn't accuse, it didn't judge, it just accepted me. That night, I turned off my main phone, removed the SIM, powered up a prepaid burner. No sync, no cloud, no trace. By Sunday afternoon, the messages started. At first, they were just texts from her sister's number. "Where are you? Call me, please." Then, "Seriously, what are you doing? You're acting crazy." I let them sit, each one more frantic than the last. At 8:17 p.m., the first voicemail came. Her voice clipped, rehearsed. "We need to talk. This is ridiculous. You're overreacting." Then 2 more, each one closer to something real, something cracked. By the 5th message, her voice was hoarse. "You're scaring me. I know you're angry, but don't just disappear. Talk to me. Yell if you have to. Just don't stay quiet." She didn't know it wasn't anger that made me disappear. It was clarity. The 6th voicemail was almost a whisper. "I messed up. I didn't think it mattered. I didn't think you'd ever leave. You've always been there, even when I didn't deserve it." But it was the 7th one that settled deep. I listened to it once, then again, Then I set the phone face down on the windowsill and watched the streetlights flicker on. She was crying now. Carter said it didn't mean anything, that I pushed it, that he shouldn't have come. I swear, I didn't plan it like that. I wanted to feel something, and you were so far away and so quiet, and her breath caught. Please, please come home. But I was already home. Not in the room, not in the city, in the silence, in the stillness I built myself when she stopped seeing me as anything but reliable. She hadn't called me by name in any of the messages. That was telling. She didn't miss me. She missed the man who stayed. He wasn't available anymore. She must have expected a storm or a scene, some version of me waiting behind the door, seething and righteous, ready to throw everything in her face. She'd always assumed silence meant fragility. That restraint was some kind of weakness I used to survive her chaos. But when she pulled into the driveway that evening, she met something colder than fury. Nothing. Her key didn't work. Not jammed, not stiff from weather. Dead, changed. She jiggled it anyway, like muscle memory could undo what her choices had tightened. Then she rang the bell. Once, twice, waited, tried again. Still nothing. It took her a while to notice the lockbox. She used to hate it, called it ugly, said it made the house look like a rental. I kept it anyway, for emergencies, for moments that needed quiet delivery. Inside it, one envelope, cream-colored, heavy paper, no name, no return address, just folded once, cleanly. She opened it on the porch. The wedding band dropped into her palm first, plain, unscuffed, worn but intact. Then the printout, her own text, dated 3 weeks back. The one that said, Carter's visit was harmless. Don't make it weird. Beneath that, in smaller font, a timestamp. The moment I'd archived it, the moment I'd begun to leave. The last page was legal. Formal. The same notarized document we'd signed the year we refinanced, when she insisted on consolidating everything just in case. She never read the fine print. I did. Section 6C, in the event of proven misconduct, Party A reserves right to initiate separation of shared assets without mutual arbitration. Her signature, in ink, clear and careless. Effective the day she let Carter pull up a chair to the head of my table. She stood there in the growing dark, clutching those 3 pieces of her old life. A gold band, a text she'd meant to dismiss me with, and a contract she never expected to matter. The porch light didn't come on. The curtain stayed drawn. She was no longer on the inside of anything, and I didn't have to say a word. The table was set with quiet intention. No heirloom china, no pretentious centerpiece, just simple stoneware, linen napkins, a few candles flickering against the windows of a town she'd never bothered to visit. The people around me were strangers once. Colleagues, neighbors, someone's partner, someone's mentor. Now they were just steady. They didn't ask about the past. They asked about wine preferences and which dish smelled best and whether I was really as good at poker as they'd heard. I laughed easily, not forced, not dulled by pretending. And for the first time in what felt like years, I wasn't holding my breath during small talk. I'd reset everything. New job, new city, a small place, 1 bedroom, just mine. Even the scent of it felt different. Clean, unscripted, no shared drawers, no unexplained receipts tucked into coat pockets, no guessing games over dinner silence. The dinner was halfway through when she walked in. Not her, her cousin. Same sharp cheekbones, same eyes that scanned a room for hierarchy before warmth. She was tagging along with a friend from the regional development office. Pure chance. Or maybe the universe being dramatic. She was in the middle of a sentence when her gaze locked on me and froze. The wine glass in her hand tilted slightly before she caught herself. Sorry, she murmured to her friend. Then, to me, quieter, does she know where you are? I held her stare for a beat, no edge, just calm. She used to, I said. Now I don't think she even knows who I was. Something passed over her face, not guilt, not sympathy. Recognition, maybe, that the man she remembered, silent, dependable, orbiting someone else's needs, wasn't sitting at this table anymore. Conversation resumed around us. Someone passed bread. Another opened a second bottle. Laughter returned, louder now, and she realized slowly that the room no longer made space for her drama to echo. She was just a guest, passing through. I never said her cousin's name. Never asked how she was, because I already knew she was still living in the house with the porch light that didn't turn on, still wondering how silence could cut deeper than shouting, still rewriting her story around a man who no longer played a part. Meanwhile, I poured another glass, smiled at someone new, and let the noise of my new life drown out the memory of hers. It was late, nearly midnight, when the call came, a number I recognized but hadn't saved. I let it ring twice before I answered, already knowing who it was. Her mother had always been a master of timing, calling just as things were settling, when quiet had finally earned its place. "Hi," she said, her voice soft. "Tired." I didn't reply, just let the silence stretch, long enough for her to fill it. "She's been a wreck," she said. "She cries every day, doesn't eat. She thought you'd come back eventually." I stared at the ceiling, paint peeling slightly near the corner from a summer leak. I hadn't fixed it yet. I liked that it wasn't perfect. "So did I said quietly. Until that dinner proved I was just a placeholder. The words didn't sting coming out. They settled like fact, like gravity, undeniable and final. Her mom exhaled, a deep, broken sound. "We all saw it," she whispered. "Too late, but we did." I turned off the lamp beside the bed, let the room go dark. "I know," I said. "She didn't defend her, didn't try, didn't mention Carter, didn't explain the smirks, the missing invites, the smug glances across the table, didn't ask if I still loved her. Because somewhere deep down, she knew I had. And that was the real tragedy. Not that she cheated, not that she lied, but that she gambled something rare, someone who stayed. "I'm sorry," her mom said finally, "for not speaking up sooner, for letting it happen in front of you." I nodded, though she couldn't see it. "I always noticed," she added, "how much quieter you got the more she tried to be loud." "I know," I said again. There was a long pause, then a final breath from her side, like someone laying something heavy down for the last time. "I won't bother you again," she said. "Just thank you for the way you carried it." The line clicked dead. No voicemail, no follow-up text, just stillness. The kind you don't earn until you've lost everything worth holding and realize you still held yourself together. It came through on a Tuesday. No name, just a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it, but the preview froze me mid-step. I know I don't deserve anything, but I do miss the man who never raised his voice. The wording wasn't careless. It was chosen, like she finally understood what silence really meant. Not surrender, not apathy, just refusal, to play, to beg, to break. I stared at the screen for a moment, not out of longing, out of distance, that strange clarity that settles in only when you've fully detached. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel sad. Just, done. She missed the man who never raised his voice. She never asked why he never had to. I didn't text back. Instead, I walked to the cabinet, pulled out the folder I'd kept sealed since the move. Inside was the original print of that dinner photo, uncropped, unfiltered, the full scene. Every chair filled with family, with laughter, with hands reaching across the table, and mine empty. That absence didn't bother anyone that night, not her mother, not her sister, not Carter, who leaned in like he owned the air between them. They built that evening with intent, with omissions that spoke louder than any argument. And now that the house was quiet, she wanted to rewrite it. Too late. I placed the photo in a simple envelope. No return address, just one printed line below the image, neat and unshaken. Only one seat was empty, and it stayed that way. I mailed it the next morning. No signature, no note. No need to explain. Some truths don't require voices to echo, just a moment held still, and the memory of who chose to be absent before the chair ever was.